How's it going, everybody? My name's Dave Whipple, and welcome to the channel, Bushradical. Today, we're going to do something different. This is going to be the first Bushradical podcast. This is something I've been meaning to do for years because I generally shoot videos on a specific subject, and I try not to do rabbit trails and add stories and get too long-winded because I want my videos to have value in and of themselves and not a bunch of fluff and filler and garbage. But what happens, though, is it kind of leaves so many little things I'd like to put in videos, kind of leaves them on the cutting room floor. They never make it into the video. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to run a podcast every now and then and cover things that just don't qualify for their own video. We're going to talk about a few things today. One thing I would like to talk to you guys about is Christmas gifts. Christmas is coming up. I've got some ideas for you. Boring stuff, but useful. But for starters, I would like to talk to you guys about other YouTube channels. I love supporting other people's channels that I think are really good. And I've got some suggestions for you of other stuff to watch. Please come back and watch my stuff all the time. But these other channels, I think there's a lot of value there. First off, my wife, who is in way better shape than I am, she is starting her own channel. It's just called Brooke Whipple. She's just going to try to help other people get in shape, get tuned up, because she's always working out. That's a big difference between her and I. She's always working out, and I'm always not working out. I'm not a gym person. But she's going to be delivering a whole lot of helpful content about staying fit, staying strong, because she's kind of a workaholic. She's always physically fit, but keep an eye on her. If you're getting more health conscious about what you eat and how fit you are and how strong you are, because a lot of what she does is going to be just about being, physically capable. We're all getting older, Another channel that you guys might like is a fella named Mark. He goes by Old School. He runs a channel called Vintage Harleys Revived. I called him on the phone, probably 2 months ago, because I've started binge watching his videos. I've got a couple older Harley Davidson motorcycles. My first vehicle was a motorcycle, actually. It was a Kawasaki KZ305 little road bike. And when I was 16, 17, something like that, I had a tent and a sleeping bag strapped on the back of my motorcycle, and I spent all summer. I didn't have plates or insurance or nothing, man. I just rode that bike. I rode that thing into the dirt. That was the first vehicle I actually owned. So now that the kids are out of school, they're all grown up. I don't have to worry so much about hitting a school bus head on and like putting my family into financial ruin. It's not to joke, because riding motorcycle is a little dangerous. Since the kids have been out of school, I've been back riding motorcycle. I quit in 2008, and I've been back at it for like the last 4 or 5 years. And this channel, Vintage Harleys Revived, this guy just goes through and takes clapped out motorcycles that have been sitting for years, makes them run, and dials them in. And a lot of times he's doing customization and tricking his motorcycles out, just really going through them and taking something that's cheap and junky, but cool. They're all Harleys, and making it something special. But Vintage Harleys Revived, the dude makes wonderful videos. His videos are quick shots, close up, good lighting. You can learn an absolute ton of awesome stuff from watching this guy. And he's growing quite a lot. I think he's the best YouTuber in that space by far, of like working on older Harley Davidson bikes, and just a joy to watch. If you like really in-depth, super easy to watch content on motorcycles, check his channel out. Fantastic channel. Another channel. Oh my goodness. My goodness, man. This channel is criminally underviewed. Criminally. Don Cooper Films. Don Cooper had him and his brother, I think his brother's name was Jack. They did travelogues. They shot videos back in the 60s and 70s, I believe. And their most famous video would be Trails of the Mountain West. And what they do is they take a Model T truck and then they build this really rickety shack on the back of it. And they drive that thing from Mexico all the way to Alaska. And it's just a charming, if you guys like One Man's Wilderness, the Dick Proenneke video, these guys are shooting at the same time in history. They're using the same type of a camera, like an old Bolex camera. It's film. It's got that charming, warm, the color is awesome. And they have a channel now. It's called Don Cooper Films. See, what the deal is with Don Cooper Films, for years, Don Cooper traveled around and he would do live presentations. He'd show the film. He'd narrate the film in person, tell a bunch of jokes. And it was just a wonderful experience. My grandparents went and saw him one time, and they absolutely loved the show. And they bought one of his videotapes. And, you know, this was back way before the internet. So, I mean, this guy was traveling around the country selling videotapes of his trips. And he would, you know, do the travelogue in person on a big screen, like a theater screen. So I watched Trails of the Mountain West back in like 92. And it was one of the videos that kind of changed my life in a way, because I'd never and ever considered the world of travelogues, which kind of is what YouTube is in a way, where you're presenting your videos to people, and that's what you do for a living. And that's what I've ended up doing for a living. But it crossed my mind back then, like, wow, what an amazing job that would be to just film adventurous, fun things that a whole crowd of people would want to watch, and then travel around and show the films and narrate. For the longest time, the Don Cooper films, you had to order them through the mail and like send a check. And they would send you a VHS tape. And I think they were doing VHS tapes up until just a few years ago. And DVDs. And I mean, I'm talking, it was like a family. They owned the rights. You would have to buy a physical product. And for years, I was thinking like, man, these guys need to put this stuff on YouTube, because it's just gold. It's just an awesome... All the videos were good, but Trails of the Mountain West was the one that I was really familiar with. And I actually sent away and I bought Trails of the Mountain West, I think on VHS. I had to go find a VCR to watch this, because it had disappeared out of my life for 30 years. My grandparents, they burned me a VHS tape years ago. I mean, I'm talking 30 years ago. And then I loaned that tape to our friends Murray and Carol Mills in Minnesota. And I think they've both passed. Carol passed a few years ago. Murray's in his 80s, if he's still alive. Wonderful people. I'd sent them my copy. Hadn't seen this thing. Don't know where to find another version. Finally, I found them on the internet, and I had to order another videotape. So Don Cooper Films, finally they decided that they need to put stuff out on YouTube. And they have 171 subscribers. And their videos have just a few views. And it's criminal. It's criminal. They have a couple little short videos on their channel. They only got 5, but they have the entire program of Trails of the Mountain West. Part 1 and part 2. It's like a 2-hour program. And it's just absolutely charming. It's wonderful. It is part of my story. It goes back to when I was a sophomore in high school. And it was very inspirational to me. I still love it. I watched part 1 last night. I'll probably watch part 2 tonight. which would be like the 11th time I've watched that video because it's just good. It's just old school. It's charming. Go tonight. Type in Don Cooper Films. Go watch Trails of the Mountain West. It's absolutely lovely. And that video, it's kind of got a kind of a long introduction because it is filmed live with Don Cooper. He sets the whole thing up and then he gets into the film and narrates the film, and it's just it's a masterpiece. It's fantastic. Another channel you might want to check out, a guy named Kyle has a channel called Wicked Alaska. And Kyle and I have been chatting on the phone for, I don't know, the last 5 or 6 months probably. And he's trying to grow his channel, but he does some amazing work. He does a lot of adventure stuff. He's based out of kind of the Anchorage, Alaska area. Check out Kyle. And Kyle just got his first 1 million view video, so congrats on that. Another YouTuber you should check out who absolutely blew my mind is a guy named Matt Spears. Young dude doing outdoor adventure. He's got several videos that were shot in Alaska and just over the top. Like the stuff this guy's doing it's such good TV. For instance, he took a Amazon Chinese V-twin motorcycle and he put studded tires on it and rode it from Anchorage, Alaska, all the way up to like the Arctic Circle, almost as far as the road goes, like Prudhoe Bay area in Alaska, in like late September, early October. It was snowing the whole time. There was snow all over the roads, ice, freezing mud. The guy's camping. It's a terribly dangerous thing. Like, there's semi trucks on that road and the road is full of ruts and it's frozen. And this guy's got studded tires on a Chinese motorcycle and he rips it all the way up to like Prudhoe Bay. And I called him the other day too. And I was just like, dude, that is some fantastic YouTube. I loved it. I thought it was great. And his channel is going to blow up. Absolutely. And I hadn't been aware of him until probably a week ago. And I've watched a couple of his videos now. And I've got all the rest of them queued up to watch. He did another one where he bought like the cheapest dirt bike from Walmart.com and then did like the most amazing mountain trail, climbing it with this cheap Chinesium motorcycle. So that dude knows how to make YouTube. Check his channel out, Matt Spears. Another good one to go check out. All right, let's get into something else here. Christmas gifts. Christmas is coming up. Everybody's got somebody to buy for, hopefully, and a lot of us have several people to buy for. And being a dad, I buy boring stuff generally for people, things that are useful. I like boring things myself. I like things that are useful. So I'm going to give you guys my recommendations for Christmas gifts for 2025. First of all, let's start out with stocking stuffers. One of the best things to put in a kid's stocking, a boy, or if you got a brother or an uncle or somebody you want to buy something for, is a pocket knife. And I think the best bang for your buck is Imperial pocket knives. And Imperial's probably been out of business for 40 years, I think. I don't know. But let me just talk for a second about Imperial pocket knives because they're cheaper, vintage knives. They have good quality steel. They've got the goods where you need it, and they're almost valueless as far as like a resale value, so you can pick them up for nothing. Let me give you kind of the rundown. So the thing I really love about Imperial pocket knives, there's a couple things, but one is the fact that they're everywhere. They made millions and millions of these things, and they're kind of cheap. They're cheaply made. They don't have brass liners. They've got steel liners. They're not stainless, so they rust. The outside is not bone or solid even. It's just a little metal cap that goes on there. Even the bolsters, these caps on the end of the knife, they're just stamped metal. They're not solid like a case would be. But the best thing about these guys is the steel. They have good steel. It's easy to sharpen, holds a good edge. I mean, I'm sure it's just a standard, like a 1095 carbon steel. And so they do rust up. but they do hold an edge quite nice, and they're everywhere, and you can find them on eBay for a couple dollars. Makes a fantastic stocking stuffer. These things are just, this is about all you want in a knife, really. People go out and spend hundreds of dollars on really expensive pocket knives. And the problem with a pocket knife is it's one of the easiest things in the world to lose. You buy a knife like this, you have a really good cutting edge, and you can't say this isn't a durable knife, because this one right here is probably 50 years old. And you can pick these guys up for, $1, $2, flea markets, yard sales. If you're on eBay, you're always going to spend a couple bucks in shipping. But I've seen a lot of these things sell for 99 cents. I've seen them sell for $2, $3, $4. So you spend $4, you spend $4 in shipping, $8 for a good pocket knife. If you lose it, it's not the end of the world. Anybody that likes to carry a little pocket knife, this is a fantastic stocking stuffer. And not only the fact that they're cheap and they're good steel, the steel is good quality. Also, they've got some historic mojo to them, because they haven't made these things forever, to my knowledge anyway. So what you're getting is you're getting something that's vintage, but very affordable, very useful, and high quality where it counts, and that's in the blades. Fantastic stocking stuffer, great little gift. Now, if you guys have been watching this channel for a while, you know that all of the music on this channel is my music. It's music that I've recorded, most of it with this microphone and an acoustic guitar, and I'll play for 3 or 4 minutes until I've got a track that doesn't have a ton of mistakes in it. Don't listen too close, because it's going to have mistakes. But then when I've got that initial track, that 3-4 minutes of decent guitar playing, I'll go back and open another track in GarageBand, because I have a Mac computer. And then I'll record some lead over top of it. I've been playing guitar since I was 14, and I'll be 50 here in a very short time. So, I mean, I've got like 36 years of playing. And with doing your own music, you get to avoid all the copyright claims. I've never had to even think about that. So this next gift idea is for the musician in your life. You got a son or a daughter or yourself or a spouse that likes to play electric instruments, bass and guitar. This is a VOX Amplug. And what this thing is, it's an amplifier for headphones only. And it's got a plug that just plugs into your instrument. You plug your headphones in so you can practice without driving everybody out of their friggin' minds. And I know this to be true because I'm the person who drives the rest of the family out of their minds. I've got several amps. I like playing electric guitar. It's more fun when you crank it up. It makes the dogs howl. I have a great time with it, but everybody else seems to have an issue. So let me give you guys the rundown on a VOX Amplug and why this is one of the coolest things you could possibly get for the musician in your life. You plug this unit right into your electric guitar, your electric bass, and it has a volume for the guitar. It's got a built-in amplifier, so it modifies the sound, makes it sound cool, like what you want. But it's also got a drum machine. And this is actually highly, highly useful. From a musician standpoint, one of the most important things you can work on is timing. So you can play with other musicians. So that you hit this button, it's got like 3 different drum presets. And then you can hold the button down, and with this tempo knob, you can speed it up or you can slow it down. So you can play along with a recorded drum track, professional. It's a good sounding drum beat too, different beats. And you can make those beats as slow as you want, or you can make them as fast as you want. It helps your timing as a musician, gives you a way to practice. And of course, the best part about this, it's just a headphone amp. So you plug a set of headphones in. Nobody's got to listen to you just punishing the neighbors with loud bass guitar or loud electric guitar. But this is a fantastic little unit. These things cost about $55, $60, something like that. I bought this one for $20 at a pawn shop. I practice bass through it, of course, because it's a bass amp plug. You can sit there and just practice for hours and never bother anybody. Now, another fantastic gift you can get, and I would suggest buying this one for yourself. put it in a box and put a bow on it, stick it underneath the tree and give it to yourself. It's a pair of Duckfeet boots. For the last 2 years, I have been wearing a pair of Duckfeet boots every day. If you look at the last 2 years worth of videos, you're going to see me wearing Duckfeet boots in every single video, with maybe one or two exceptions for the last 2 years. The reason is very simple. They're shaped like a foot. They're not shaped like a shoe. They're not a fashion statement with a pointy toe where your foot is, your toes are this wide and the shoe is this wide. It's no evil garbage like that. It's a wide toe box leather boot with a soft sole. They don't weigh a lot. They last forever. And my feet have never loved being in a pair of shoes as much as a pair of Duckfeet boots. Let me give you guys a rundown on that. Now, Duckfeet boots have become my absolute favorite. And this is why. All this room in the big toe. I have wore these boots every single day for 2 years. And the upper, the leather, the actual body of the boot is in fantastic shape. I mean, these things will last a long, long, long time. This pair right here is ready for a resole. I've wore the sole out, and the sole is a gum rubber. It's like a natural crepe rubber. These things are the most comfortable pair of boots I've ever wore. And the leather is plenty thick. I mean, it's as thick as a set of Red Wings, but they're just simple. There's nothing going on in these boots. They are just basic. There's no liner. There's no insulation. They don't smell. And they're just a joy to wear. There's tons of room for your big toe. And that's really what matters. That's really what matters. So I've got this set here that it needs to be resoled. I still wear it. And I need to stop wearing them, because if you go too far and you just like wear right up through the sole and then into the midsole and then through the stitching, it's going to be a real chore to resole them. Right now, I think they're still in condition where they could get resoled pretty easy. But the leather's in fantastic shape. They're just as solid as a pair of Red Wings, but they fit a foot shape, not this shoe shape everybody likes to use, where they curve back towards the center, where your toes don't. Your toes splay out. I mean, walk around barefoot for a while and just look at your feet. And then when you stuff them into a pointy-toed set of shoes, I never had any problems with my feet for the longest time. And in the last 10 years, they have just decided they've had enough of me. And they don't like anything. They don't like any shoes that I put on. So it's been kind of a journey of constantly trying stuff, trying to find boots and shoes that actually are shaped like my feet. I tried a pair of Nick's boots, because they'll make custom boots to fit your feet, but they really kind of don't. None of those boot makers that have custom boots, they don't really make a boot shaped like your foot. You trace your foot out on a piece of paper and you send it into them, but they've only got like 3 kinds of lasts. The form that they actually make the boot around, and they'll look at it and they'll be like, well, if this person needs a little more room here, we can pad out the last with an extra little piece of material on there, so there's a little more room in a certain area. But that's what you're getting. You're not getting anything that's custom made. You're getting, you're going to be fit into one of these 3 lasts that they actually build the boots on, and then they might alter it a little bit to give you maybe a little more room. And I like my Nick's boots. I liked them for a couple of years until I got a set of Duckfeet. And then I'm like, my goodness. All that Pacific Northwest boots, the Wescos, the Whites, the Nicks, the JK boots, all of those are wonderful. If you got a foot shape that is shaped for those boots. Otherwise, they're so heavy duty. They're so heavy. The leather is so thick. If they're not a good fit for you, they'll cripple you. A pair of Red Wings will cripple you if they're not a good fit. I think the world's kind of waking up to that so many of the boots and shoes that are for sale, they're made on this universal shoe last that might make 10% of the people perfectly happy. Everybody else, it's just going to be okay. And there's starting to be a lot of companies out there that are making a more anatomically correct shoe. Honestly, like a pair of Birkenstocks. I've got a set of Birkenstock sandals, and they're so hippie. Like, I would have never wore those things when I was in my 20s or 30s, just because they look like a granola munching hippie shoe. But they're literally perfectly shaped. Like, they've got all the room you need in the big toe. They're shaped like a foot. They're shaped like my foot. I put a pair of those on. I'm like, my goodness, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be wearing. I put a set of Red Wings on, and the toe box is round. You know, it's just like a mock toe Red Wing. The reason I always go back to Red Wings is, you know, for years I did concrete work. I was a cement contractor. And the boot of my people, so to speak, is a Red Wing mock toe boot, like an 877. And the reason is, it's very popular with steel workers, and in concrete, you're doing a lot of steel work. You're kicking forms a lot, kicking wall forms to line, you end up kicking stuff all the time. You wear the toes out as much as anything. And then, of course, if you're finishing on your knees down in the gravel, the toes of your boots are in the gravel. So it's rough on the toes of boots. But if you're running a power trowel, you ever see guys finishing concrete, they got a big mixing machine looking thing. I don't know how to describe it to a non-concrete person. People call them whirlybirds, and they call them, you know, egg beaters. And a power trowel's got 4 blades, and it basically does all the work for you. It's a concrete troweling machine. When you're running a power trowel, you want something that's got a very smooth, soft sole, so you're not stomping dents into the concrete and then trying to wipe them out as you go. You want a shoe that's got a very soft, very plain sole. And those Red Wings, they're heavy duty, they're good for hard real work, but they've got that soft, cristy sole, so you can go from tying iron to jumping on a power trowel and not marring the slab up as you're finishing it. And if you've been on any of the jobs I've been on for, I don't know, the last 30 years, I'm the guy on the power trowel. So I'd buy a set of slippers every year and just wear slippers because I couldn't really wear those Red Wings. They just kill my feet after a while. And it got to the point where I couldn't even wear them at all. So, and I had to start looking for other boots to wear. Honestly, a lot of the videos I've shot on this channel, I've shot in a pair of Walmart moccasins. They're like $13. They stink. They're so poorly made. You get a year out of them. I've done all kinds of video work in a pair of moccasins from Walmart. They're like slippers, you know, but they got a rubber bottom with traction. So they're like, you throw them on and you go type of thing. Speaking of Pacific Northwest boots, before we get off that subject, I want to tell you guys about JK Boots. JK sent me a pair of boots 2 years ago. And let me preface this by saying they are wonderful boots. The only problem I have with those boots is the shape. They have a little too much room in some areas, and they have not enough in others, like most boots that I've ever owned. And that's why I've become super picky. I'm just tired of wearing boots that hurt. But JK sent me an email, and they're reaching out to YouTubers that were a good fit to, you know, partner with those guys to, you know, bring awareness to their boots. And they sent me this email. They're like, yeah, we'd really like to partner with you. We think you're a really good fit, and we just want to send you a pair of boots and try them out. I'd already bought a set of Nick's boots, and I liked them. I have grown to not like them as much just because of the shape. I can't get around the shape thing. But they were good while I wore them quite a bit. And I had dealt with Nicks before, and I already had a set of these boots. They're going to last me forever. So I sent JK back a message, and I said, listen, I already own a set of boots made by your closest competitor. I've had a pretty good experience with those. I don't do endorsements. I don't do brand deals. And I'm not, I actually said this too. I said, I'm not willing to offer you anything to make it worth you sending me a pair of boots. And they sent me back a coupon for 100% off. And they're like, hey, just grab a set. Absolutely no strings attached. If you like them, maybe we'll talk. I'm like, wow, I kind of can't go wrong with just getting a free pair of boots. So I used the coupon. I bought a set of boots and I wore them for a while, and I just couldn't break them in. They were just a little too small. So I said, this isn't working for me. They're a little too small. They're like, we'll send you another pair. So they sent me another pair, which, I mean, we're talking like, these are like $600 boots. They sent me another pair. It was much better. I think they have a better fitting heel than Nicks boots. Nicks boots seem to have like a big heel. And if you don't have a giant heel, your heel's kind of slopping around. The JKs had a better fitting heel. At the ball of your foot, they seem to have a little bit extra room that I didn't need. And at the toe, they had a little less room. I think the JKs would be absolute perfect boots if they had a little more of an anatomical area in the big toe. Because I still wear them all the time. I wear them when I'm cutting firewood. I wear them when I'm doing something really, dangerous, where I'm likely to hurt my feet, because they're just super heavy duty. But they ended up sending me 2 pairs of boots, and I'm like, I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy. They're okay for 4 or 5 hours. If I had to wear these things for 8 hours, I'd have to get them off my feet and put my Walmart slippers on that stink and work in those. So JK boots are fantastic. Super heavy duty. Leather is wonderful. They're a great boot, but I don't wear them most of the time because my feet just need something else. My foot is straight. I've got a really big toe. If you have an average foot, they're perfect for you. I like the lower heel. Their leather is just as good as the Nicks. I think the stitching is actually better. The Nicks, the stitching was maybe a little less than perfect. Where the JKs, you look at the JKs and you can't fault the stitching. It's pretty much perfect. So JK boots, they really wanted my endorsement, and I wholeheartedly give you my endorsement. They make great boots. I never did get a deal with them to where, they'd pay me to pitch their product, which I wouldn't have done anyway. I'm telling you right now for free that I loved them. They sent me 2 pairs of boots. One's collecting dust. I wear it once in a while. The other pair, I sold it to a guy in a parking lot in Grand Rapids for $150. Hopefully he's watching. Hopefully he subbed. We talked a little bit about YouTube and, the history of the boots. But JK makes a fantastic set of boots. If you have a normal foot, they're wonderful. You'll love them. If you need a lot of room in the toe, the Duckfeet boots I love them. And the funny thing is too, if you look on their website, it's like a bunch of women shopping and stuff. It's like a unisex boot, but it's heavy leather. They last a long time. They're kind of a bugger to break in. They're a little tight over the top of the foot. Once you get through the break-in on them, they're the most comfortable boots I've ever wore. And the fact that you see women shopping in Duckfeet boots in New England, don't let that turn you away, because their page doesn't have any construction workers chewing Copenhagen and tying steel. They're good, solid boots with a lot of room where you need the room. The rest of the boots, very form-fitting. They don't stink, and they're great. I love Duckfeet. Go buy some Duckfeet. One other boot company, if you're like me and you have really finicky feet, there's a company out there called Texarado. Texarado makes a boot that's like a Duckfeet boot. It's very anatomical, really wide toe box, a lot of room for the big toe, but they're made out of like buffalo hide, and they're stitched down, super, super, super heavy duty. And then they're barefoot. They have no heel at all. So barefoot boot that's built like a Pacific Northwest boot. And the bison leather, the buffalo leather, bison buffalo, that leather is very, very soft for how thick it is. And it's like the thickest leather you're going to get anything made out of. So they kind of got a recipe that I'm super, super interested in, where they have like an industrial logging boot build quality, like barefoot shoe that's got this giant wide toe box. It might be the greatest thing ever. When I get a pair, I'll let you know. Gonna get something for somebody who's got picky feet. Get them Duckfeet. Check out Texarado. If you have a brother or an uncle, or you're married to, or your husband, if you're a woman watching this and your husband has a super hard job and they need like the best heavy duty foot gear, check out JK. They're fantastic too. Another thing on the foot end of things before we move on is Hallow socks. Hallow socks, I bought my first pair, I don't know, 3 years ago. And they're a alpaca wool sock. And let me run you guys through what I think of Hallow socks and kind of give you the details. I love wool socks. Wool socks are great. They're much drier than cotton. Wool is superior to cotton in a sock in every way. Some wool socks, though, they're way too tight. And I've tried several of them. The thing I like about Hallow socks, and why I think as a Christmas gift you might want to consider them for yourself or somebody else, is they're plain. They're just a thick, cushy, plain sock. So you don't feel like there's different things going on. Tight areas and loose areas and thick areas and thin areas. It's just a big, cushy sock. And I've found over the last couple of years that I'm wearing my Hallow socks way longer than I should. I mean, because, you wear them for a week and they still don't stink because they're wool. They're antimicrobial, I think, because it's wool. And they don't absorb moisture. They just wick it away. Where cotton, you wear cotton socks for a day and they're damp. You have to hang them up and air them out. You got to wash them every 2 days. I just don't like cotton socks. But of the wool socks I've tried, I think the Hallow socks they're probably my favorite. If you're going to buy somebody cushy, expensive socks for Christmas, check out Hallow. Again, no promo code. I have no agreement with these people. I just like their socks. Here's another boring stocking stuffer idea. This is a 3-in-1 USB cord. It's got a Lightning for like older iPhones. It's got a USB-C for newer iPhones. And then it's got one of these, the old school mini USB plug that all the cheap stuff has. I picked this cord up for, I don't know, $9 at a gas station in Delta Junction, Alaska. Not the one in town, but the one way out on the highway. 30 miles to the east of town. A little ma and pa joint. And I walked in there and I was like, wow, where's that thing been my whole life? It was like $9. And this is now a highly coveted USB cord. My daughter and my wife have looked at this and been like, whoa, I want one of those. Because it makes perfect sense. You can go down the road. You can charge your new iPhone. I have one of those Bluetooth earpieces for talking on the phone while I'm driving. And it takes the old mini USB plug and it's on there. So I can charge my phone. I can charge my GoPro. And I can charge that little Bluetooth headset all at the same time with just the one cord. And I don't know why I haven't owned one of these things for a decade. It's a fantastic idea. So get on eBay, get one for everybody in the family. If you got people in your family that like me, where everybody's got 50 cords, half of them don't work, you can't remember which ones don't. This multi-port USB cord is the best $9 I've spent in a long time. It really is. And it makes a great stocking stuffer. One of those things that, it's boring, it's utilitarian, but I'd be happy to get one. I'd be super happy. Put it in the car, plug all my junk into it, charge everything at once. Don't have to have 3 cords. Good stocking stuffer. Down in the description, I'm going to put the link to JK Boots. I'm going to put the link to Duckfeet Boots, which are wonderful. No affiliate, no brand deal, nothing. It's going to take you to their site. I think they're running 20% off right now. I'm going to put the link for the VOX Amplug for the musician in your life. I'm going to put the link for the Hallow socks. As far as Imperial pocket knives, you're talking flea markets, yard sales, and eBay. So you're going to have to find those there. What else was on this list? Don't forget the Don Cooper films. You're going to absolutely love Trails of the Mountain West. Great, great video. Pat McManus books. If you got somebody in your family that loves the outdoors, loves reading, loves humor, Pat McManus, man, get some Pat McManus books. Back in the day, Pat McManus, I honestly, I haven't read a Pat McManus story for, a long time. Because I've read them all. I've read them all 5 different times. I think he lived out in Spokane, Washington, and grew up in Idaho. And he wrote a lot of stories. And they were all humor, and they were all hunting and fishing and camping and stuff like that. And in Outdoor Life magazine, back in the day, at the very last page was a column called The Last Laugh. And that's where Pat McManus's stories were published. I don't know the last time I even read an Outdoor Life magazine. They used to be so full of stuff. They used to have a lot of interesting stories. And then basically they became like fashion catalogs of buy this thing and go to this place and pay these people to take you somewhere. And it became like a 35 page of advertising and like 60 page magazine. And back in the day, it was like 140 pages and it was all kinds of cool stuff. 80s, maybe into the early 90s. And then it just I quit reading Outdoor Life a long time ago. Way better to go catch a 4-inch bluegill out of a $50 kayak with a rubber spider than to read about some fancy place you need to go and some fancy gear you need to buy. But Pat McManus, all of his books are funny. They're all charming. Great author. If you got somebody in your family who loves to read, loves the outdoors, and likes humor, buy him a Pat McManus book. He's got like 14 of them, I think. And I would have got you some pictures, but I didn't think about it in time. And that's basically my Christmas list. I will add one other thing to that Christmas list. If you want to drop some money, and I'm not talking a couple bucks, but if you really actually want to drop some money on a gift for somebody, and maybe that somebody's you, doesn't have to be somebody else. Yamaha is my favorite company in the world. I think Yamaha is the greatest brand ever. And I own several things that are Yamaha. And the reason I say they're the coolest company ever, the greatest manufacturing company in the world, they make dirt bikes and 4-wheelers. They make drum sets. They make grand pianos. They make guitars and basses and amplifiers. And they make 4-wheelers and road bikes and all the cool stuff. Yamaha makes all the cool stuff. And Yamaha acoustic guitars, like the cheapest acoustic guitar they make is, $175. And it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But you start getting up into $300 guitars, which is, in the world of acoustic guitars, is still a dirt cheap guitar. They have the F800 series, I believe. They're wonderful guitars. Wonderful. You get up from that and like $500, they've got the LL6. It's made in China, I believe, but it's a solid top guitar. And that's made to a Japanese standard. They have a protocol that they follow, that Kaizen manufacturing thing. A couple of years ago, I went to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I went to all the music stores and drove through the city, which I hate. And I was going to buy a Martin acoustic guitar. And the idea was, I'm going to buy a really good guitar and then I'll get rid of all my other junky guitars, which never works because I just get interested in guitars again and I end up buying something I don't need. But I went to buy a real guitar, an expensive Martin. So hopefully I could just be happy with one guitar and thin everything else out. I played like 5 Martin D28s, which is the standard like bluegrass guitar. And I ended up buying a Yamaha. I bought a Yamaha LL16. It's a Canon. It's a loud acoustic guitar. Really lively. Got a lot of tone to it. Very unique sounding guitar. From a build standpoint, you can't fault it. The thing is built perfectly. There's no problems with it. Humidity doesn't seem to bother it, and it's a complete solid wood instrument. No plywood, no laminates, nothing like that. So Yamaha guitars. I also own a FG5, which is made in Japan, and I paid a lot of money for my FG5. I think I paid $1,280 for it, and they've went up over the last 4 or 5 years. I think they're at $1,700 now. That's a hard pill to swallow, man. That's an expensive acoustic guitar, but brilliantly built, wonderful sounding. Yamaha acoustic guitars, if you're going to drop real money, you're going to buy some acoustic guitar player in your life, whether it's yourself or somebody else you know, you're going to spend some money and buy them a great guitar. The quality you get from Yamaha for the dollar beats everybody. You go buy a Gibson acoustic guitar, you're going to drop $3,000. And they're not worth $3,000. They don't sound any better than a lot of $500 guitars. Gibsons are good. I've played lots of Gibson guitars that were duds that just didn't have any mojo to them, you know. They weren't lively. They didn't feel like they're working with you. I'm nerding out here on guitars. And I know a lot of you out there are not a guitar player, but you know somebody that is. Maybe you are and want a really nice guitar. For the money, Yamaha beats everything. Beats everybody. If you like the sound of the particular Yamaha, the build quality that you get for the dollar, better than anything out there. Something to think about if you're an acoustic guitar player, or if you happen to want to spend a lot of money on somebody else's guitar. Yamaha's the first place I'd look. I think that pretty much does it. That's my Christmas list in a nutshell, and my YouTube recommendations for future viewing. My wife's new channel, Matt Spears, who's the guy's an adventure machine. He's got some good stuff. Vintage Harleys Revived, and check out Kyle over at Wicked Alaska. And those are some great YouTube creators out there that I think you would like if you like this channel. And also, please, and I'm begging you to do this, begging you, go watch Trails of the Mountain West by Don Cooper. That guy, he's been gone for years. He's passed away years ago. But some of the most criminally underviewed content on YouTube is Trails of the Mountain West by Don Cooper. He should be in the same category as Dick Proenneke. People should watch his stuff, and it's very similar color-wise, the film it was shot on, the time it was shot. And Dick Proenneke is kind of a household name, and I rarely run into anybody that would know the name Don Cooper, and that's not fair. It's not fair. Don Cooper films are great. Trails of the Mountain West is the best one, my favorite anyway, and that video is now up on Don Cooper Films in its entirety. Go check them out. I thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, where I can kind of stretch out and just talk and visit. It's been a great time. Thanks for coming. My name's Dave Whipple, and you've been watching Bushradical. Be radical, eh? See you soon.